Hello everyone. Hello Arsalan, Anu. Thank you for joining.
Hello. Hi, Mantra.
Bye. Hello everyone. So I'm assuming all of you have your Wipro test tomorrow, right?
Yes, sir.
You can just mention in the chat box yes, no. Yes, okay. Okay, we'll just wait 2-3 minutes more and then we'll start. So in the meantime, if you have any doubts, okay, so all the general doubts they'll definitely be covering. But if you have something specific you want to ask them, you can ask them in the chat box, or if you want, you can say it also.
सर आई वांट टू आस्क
Okay, okay.
सर मैंने अभी कैंपस का फॉर्म भरा था तो सर मेरा ना एंड में पेमेंट मतलब हो गया, पेमेंट कट गया, बट वो कैंपस फॉर्म फिल नहीं हुआ, मतलब सबमिट नहीं हुआ। तो
ये
सर
बहुत कॉमन है, लास्ट टाइम भी बहुत होता था, तो दिस इज अ वेरी वेरी कॉमन इशू एंड इसमें यू हैव टू डू टू थिंग्स. फर्स्ट इज सपोजिंग इफ योर डेडलाइन इज वेरी क्लोज, तो फिर दोबारा पेमेंट करने में भी कोई ऑप्शन कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, दोबारा उसका रिफंड आ जाएगा. एंड सेकंड थिंग इज वो जो इंस्टीट्यूट का मेल आईडी है उस पर मेल भेजना है कि मेरा पेमेंट कट गया, मेरा ये नहीं आ रहा है, रजिस्ट्रेशन दिखा नहीं रहा है.
ओके सर.
सर आई हैव अ डाउट टू.
ओके.
सर मैंने पेमेंट किया वही सेम कैंपस फॉर्म का, बट एंड में वेबसाइट क्रैश ऐसा मैसेज आया, बट पेमेंट डिडक्ट हो गया और फिर से वो पोर्टल पे प्रिंट करने का ऑप्शन आ रहा है, तो मतलब सबमिट हो गया है ना?
राइट राइट, प्रिंट करने का ऑप्शन आ रहा है मतलब सबमिट हो गया है, प्रिंट करने का ऑप्शन नहीं आ रहा है मतलब सबमिट नहीं हुआ है.
ओके सर.
ठीक है, so we'll start. We'll just wait for Tushar also. I think I'm not sure whether he's joined.
Am I audible?
Yes, Tushar. तो थोड़ा सा ब्रेक हो रहा है, but I think it's fine.
So, hi, Yugankar.
Hi, Tushar. So welcome all of you. We will just start the session straight away. Okay, so we have 3 people from Wipro who will be guiding you, Arsalan, Anu, and Tushar. And Arsalan and Tushar, you were selected in the previous campus, right?
Yes.
Okay, and Anu was selected in
May
the May 2022 campus. So they have actually managed to clear whatever you are planning to give tomorrow. And not only the eligibility test or not only the aptitude test, they have cleared all the rounds. And in Wipro, there are multiple rounds, right? How many rounds are there generally for the
There are
interview?
basically 4 rounds. So you have the written test. After that, you'll have 3 rounds of interviews. The first round is the one which is very tough. So that is the round which would be taken by the function heads. So you have the head of FP&A taking your interview. You might have the head of indirect taxation taking it. So and then you have 2 more rounds. One round is there are a group of people who run the cohorts program. So one of them will take your interview. So it's not a very tough interview. It's more of a conversation, the second round, and the third round is the formality HR round. So it's basically the written test and the first round of interview, which are the big hitters.
Okay, okay. So before we move on to the core part, which is why everyone is here, which is the eligibility test में क्या question आते हैं, कैसे clear करना है. We'll just spend a little time on what all 3 of you are doing in Wipro so that people will know कि Wipro में होता क्या है, कैसा काम होता है, क्या क्या करना रहता है, right? So we'll start with you, Arslan, है ना? So you can describe your experience. कितना time हो गया है since joining?
Actually, not joined Wipro. I've cleared all the tests and all, and it was a round 1 test. So in aptitude test, I've cleared. Then there was round 1. Then it was round 2, and it was round 3 of HR round. And rest, Wipro is a nice company. If you want to join, then you can absolutely join it. But the aptitude, the written test, which is tomorrow, it's a little tough one. Actually, last time, a total of, they were telling us that 70% of candidates were eliminated in the written test only. There were many of my friends and also they were telling that the aptitude test and all is a very tough test. So generally, if you're having a good guidance, then surely all can crack it.
Okay, okay. So Anu, anything about your experience since you have the longest experience? So from your side.
One of the key highlights of joining Wipro is that you get rotated every year as a part of the cohort program. So you join in one role and after 1 year, you're rotated to a different role. So that is a very key aspect of the program, so that their purpose is to give you a holistic experience of finance. Okay, this is very important. Now, Wipro as a company, if you look at the IT space, Wipro as the company has undergone the most change in the previous 3-4 years, right? So you're going to learn a lot of things there, and there are a few roles that are so good. For example, if you get a role of a business finance manager in Wipro, in my experience, it is one of the most holistic roles you're ever going to come across in your career. So it's a very good place to work, but yeah, you will have your own ups and downs. You'll have complaints regarding work hours and all that stuff. But वो तो यार हर जगह होता है. The main thing is initial ये जो 1-2 साल का time रहता है, you want to learn as much as you can. And if you get the right role in Wipro, then you will surely learn a lot.
And so many people ask this question that is there a company which can give me a good salary also and which has a decent work-life balance also? And generally the names that come up are Wipro. So is Wipro one of in that category where it's having a reasonable work-life balance, let's say compared to Big Four or other industries?
Wipro used to have a very good work-life balance, but since it had gone a lot of changes, so what happened is that everyone has to adopt to the new systems. And I have been a part of Wipro for 1 year. There's been a lot of focus on, maintaining the work-life balance, because in this past 1 year, the work-life balance wo hil chuka tha puri tarike se, because new systems are there are problems. But जो हमको जो अच्छा लगा ये देखने के लिए कि senior management का focus है कि आप work-life balance maintain करो. And then it also depends on the roles. अगर आपको say for example business finance manager का role मिलेगा, तो इतना holistic role है कि वहाँ पे तो आपको काम ज्यादा करना पड़ेगा. But maybe if you get into a role which is not as holistic as that, तो work वहाँ पे है कि वहाँ पे काम थोड़ा कम करना पड़ेगा. So there is always a balance.
And I think this is a general rule across all companies that wherever there's a good role, the work-life balance will automatically be affected because you are getting a good role, you're getting good experience. So definitely. So Tushar, coming to you about your experience at Wipro.
Okay, so I have been placed regarding controllership. Am I audible?
Your audio is not clear.
Now my audio is clear.
Now it's clear. Now it's clear.
Okay, so I have been placed in the controllership role. Controllership role has also bifurcation, so I have been placed into subsidiary controllership. So regarding the like work-life balance, so work-life balance is not that good. Like it's if a company is offering good package, also good experience, also then you can't expect a good work-life balance. Also, like all the things you can't expect. So in there are roles in Wipro which has a good work-life balance, but people say like that with experience your experience will not be good. Like you will be rotating after 1 year, then you will be placed to a good role, or you will be switching company after 1 or 2 years. Then you have to work in that domain only. So if you want to work in more of a niche profile, then you have to compromise with the work-life balance.
And about the work part, so what kind of work are you doing, like controllership? Because many people don't know what controllership means. So can you explain that?
So controllership, so the basically a controller of the books of account is that person entries and all are done in the books by different teams. Like a revenue team is there which records the revenue. Different team for cost booking is there. Different team, all the teams, they like the tax team records the tax related entries. The controller is the one person who is responsible for all the entries. Like at the end of the year, the auditor will come, then he will ask you why this entry has been done. You don't have to do any of the entries, or maybe 1-2 entries, adjustment entries you have to pass, but you will be responsible for the wholly as a books of account. Like you are the controller of books of account. So in the subsidiary controllership role, which I am doing, I have been allotted 1 or 2 subsidiaries. So the whole books of account of that subsidiary is managed by me. So I will be responsible. All the question related to that subsidiary will be asked by me. So this will work.
Okay. So now we will jump straight into the process, right? The entire process of getting into Wipro. So first step is, of course, you have to apply. So most of them would have already applied and they have received the links for the test tomorrow. But just for the general knowledge, what is the criteria to be eligible for the eligibility test? Because not everyone will be selected for the eligibility test, or you just need to be a CA, and if you're a CA, you will be able to get the eligibility test. So Anu, if we can come back to you.
Yeah, so the criteria, I think I'll just have to confirm this. It is 3 attempts. You have to be a CA, you have to clear CA in 3 attempts, and then you have whichever, for example, they have to clear out in the past term. For example, they must have been a clear outs of May 22, and it's 3 attempts. I'll just confirm it once.
It's
There
3
are
attempts.
only 2 criteria.
Yeah, it's 3 attempts only.
Yeah,
And
so
combining
there's
combining all
there's no
groups,
criteria on marks
total
and
3
all that.
attempts.
Nothing is there.
No, nothing.
No. If you are a rank holder, then you get a
Scholarship.
bonus. You get a 50K bonus.
Okay. So once that part is done, then straight away the next part is your test, right?
Yeah.
So now the people, they have received the link. In that link, it is written a finance and aptitude test, right? So in that, can you just tell us, like from the beginning, like what are the various sections that are there in the test, and what kind of questions? If you can tell 1 or 2 sample questions that you remember from in the past exam. So because the questions won't be the same, but they will get a general idea that this is the level of question that can be asked.
Yeah, so Arsalan and Tushar should take the lead because they are the most recent pass outs of the test.
Right.
Yeah, so sharing
So
I can. So
Okay,
sharing.
Arsalan, you can continue. Right.
Yeah. So sharing my experience when I was set for the test, it was when I first link was received, and then I logged in. The test time was at 11, so I logged in on the portal, and also mainly there were 3 parts mainly. First part was the FR questions were there, like from mainly the questions which are covered were Index 109. I want to, if somebody wants to write, can also write that questions mainly comes from Index 109, 110, 115, India's 116, and India's 16 can also be asked, like property, plant and equipment, financial instruments, and business combination, revenue from contract, customers and leases. Like I can give you an example of one question. It was asked of financial instruments of equity. It was asked whether it is an financial asset or financial liability. The questions are not that but obviously you have to apply some mind and some steps and all of India's 109. You must need to know the basics of all the FR questions. So this part is for FR. Coming to the finance part, generally PV questions generally are asked. Like PV questions, no forex will be asked, nothing will be asked. Generally interest rate risk management can be asked, but not forex and all will not be asked. IRR can be asked from you in case of finance point of view, and these type of interest risk management questions and all can be asked. So that's all for the SFM part. For coming to the law part, mainly the questions in law comes from the director's part, the director appointment and all, and some topics regarding the auditor they touch. So that's what the first part, and second part was some aptitude questions. So aptitude questions can be of any types, like they just check your skeptical mind of how can you solve this case and all. So that will be up next part, and the last part is generally for English. So they just give you sometimes they give you, like we do in class in lower classes, like they just give you jumble words. So they ask you, so unjumble it, and they will ask you to just put a pronoun or noun. They will be a sentence to make. So they will be testing your English knowledge also. Can you write and can you just understand your English and the nouns and all. So these were the mainly parts which I think it's covered in the test, which were covered during the test.
Okay. So now the question is few questions here. So you mentioned about questions like PV calculation or IRR calculation. So will they require the use of Excel or something that you'll have to open an Excel?
No, generally they do not. Actually, they also do not allow calculator in it.
They also do not allow calculator.
Yeah, they do not allow calculator also. It's just a type of simple sample questions. They just test your skills of how you can just manage the question and solve it without any calculators and all. Because it will not be requiring any calculators if you know the trick. The main thing is here is the questions are not that tough, but the thing is here is the trick, like financial instruments questions and IRR questions and all. If you know the basic, you can just solve the question right away. But if you don't know the basic and all, then you obviously can't solve that questions and all. So that was the main point.
The focus is your conceptual knowledge.
Yeah, your concept.
So because everyone has given their CA exams and they remember the pattern that was followed. The major difference that is there in the CA final kind of question, and MCQs are there even in most CA final papers. But the conceptual difference is that here you have to do all the calculations mentally. There's no calculator, and they are more conceptual level. Versus let's say in CA final, it would have been more, calculator.
More calculator based, and the case study based. They will not be asking you the case studies and all. But majorly, which I remember is the India's 109 questions were there, and totally I managed 109 questions were totally what we solve not that level obviously, but we can easily solve it in India's 109, 110 questions, and 115 is the most important in India's, I can say.
And that would ultimately be important in the interview also.
In the interview also, that will be ultimately important. People will be asking 2 to 3 case studies in the interview regarding India's 115.
Okay. So Tushar, coming to you, so you were in the same attempt, so you would probably have the same questions, but if anything he has missed or anything else that you would like to add on to this.
Okay, so he has mentioned about the like what will be asked. Then I will mention about how it will be asked. So like first question, it will be the finance portion. So that we will get 45 minutes for that. So finance portion is also divided into 2 parts. For the first part, a single option is the correct answer. And for the second part, multiple options can be the correct answer. So you have to take care of that. Like you don't think if you're like there is multiple answer, if you will put one answer only, then you will not get the marks. And for the this logical test, 30 minutes will be there, 10 minutes divided into English, quants and logical reasoning. In English, that jumbled words and the grammar questions will be there. In logical reasoning, like that basic logical reasoning things like the sitting arrangement, blood relation, all those questions. And in the quants, question related to arithmetic progression, geometric progression, and those ratios thing. So that will be asked. So basically, two parts will be there: 45 minutes and 30 minutes. So personally, me speaking, for me, like Arsalan has a different experience, but for me, finance portion was more of tough and logical was more of easy, logical reasoning.
So
I
this duration
attempted
you
the
mentioned,
TP.
okay. So duration you mentioned 45 minutes and 30 minutes, but people have received the link for 1 hour test. So
1 hour,
that
15
is,
minutes.
so can anyone clarify from the chat that you have received for 1 hour or 1 hour 15 minutes?
15 minutes.
Okay, 1 hour 15 minutes. Okay, then my mistake. Okay. Okay. So Anu, now coming to you, because you have given the eligibility test in a different attempt, even though you may not remember everything, but anything you would like to add, or
Actually,
how has the pattern changed, like from
since
what they have
I
covered?
gave the eligibility test for my terms, and then I've been also guiding other people for the last eligibility test as well. So first of all, I'll just give a very important tip that you're going to have a very limited time and you're going to have a lot of questions. So you cannot stop and ponder over questions because the questions will be very conceptual. So it will not involve a lot of calculations. The questions are, if you know it in a second. If you don't know it, you will read it 10 times, but you will not be able to understand what is the ask there. So your first priority has to be on answering as many questions as you can. Just go through the questions, whatever you know, you do that. Okay. And again, in my experience, quantitative reasoning, the second part, that is the one which will make or fail the test, because that is the one which is, for example, our syllabus is so vast, they can ask anything from finance. So it's a very minute chance that you will remember everything. But quantitative reasoning is same for everyone. You can ace that part, and it's not very tough. So if you have 1 or 2 practice papers, if you have given 1 or 2 practice papers, because you might not be able to think instantly at that moment, the questions will be very simple. It will be like they'll put 1, 3, 5, 7 dash, fill up the last number. So you will have to think that. And again, it's a 30-minute, the quantitative part, it's 30 minutes only. So you will also have to think very quickly on this part as well. Now coming to what was asked. So what I have observed with my experience is that they take a set of 1 year and they ask a particular set of questions during that 1 year in 2 attempts. So what happened was that just before, prior to my attempt, the main focus was on leases, revenue recognition on the FR part. And we had a lot of questions from SFM regarding to options pricing and futures pricing, those things, and a lot of questions on Forex, because that is what you will use when you get into Wipro. So that was a very heavy part of the knowledge, the finance test that was there. Then for the last 2 attempts, what I have observed is that they have moved towards other indices, as Arsalan said. They are now asking questions from financial instruments, property, plant and equipment. So they have moved their focus to that. The attempt which Arsalan gave previous to that, the November attempt, there they had asked questions on tax as well. So the finance part is a really tricky part. So that is one part where you will have to put a lot of stress on your mind to remember what you studied during your finals. That will help you a lot, because if your concepts are clear, they will just click in front of you. So the most important point here is that you will have to, you'll have to run through the questions. You cannot sit and ponder on a question which you do not know. Because if you spend 5 minutes on one particular question, then you will find that you are not able to solve 3 questions which you know.
So in a way, they have to follow that thing in CA final that, don't spend too much time on a question, because if you spend too much time on a question,
that is of utmost importance. You cannot spend more than 1 or 2 minutes for a particular question.
So if you get it, you get it.
To be very honest, the questions are highly technical. At least on my attempt, the questions on FR, I mean, most of us studied FR from Praveen Sharma. So we always had a complaint from Praveen sir that he went too deep into the concepts. So बहुत ज़्यादा पढ़ा देते थे. But I found that the questions that were there in the aptitude test were not something which Praveen Sharma also did not teach us that. वो इतने deep में घुसे हुए questions थे. So that involves a lot of conceptual clarity.
So some people are asking for a practice test. So right, so मैंने practice test बनाया. That is why I know there's not much time for you to practice it, but I will just show it to you. Right, I'll just quickly present my screen and show it, so that at least the Ind AS part, the FR part is very good. And but in the meantime, while I present, there are a few more questions. Any of you can take it. First, what is the passing percentage? Second, is there any negative marking? Third, what is the percentage of allocation between the first part, which is the finance part, and the aptitude part?
So for the passing percentage, I don't think that there is any such number floating out there. So it's an internal parameter to them, but I can just give you a hint. So the passing percentage for the test as an absolute number is somewhere around 10 to 15%. So if 100 people give the test, 15 people pass the test. It's the main eliminator. So if you go through this, then there's almost an 80 to 90% chance that you get through.
Okay. And on negative marking?
Again, I don't think that there's negative marking involved.
No, there is no negative marking.
Okay.
Deepak
and
is asking how many vacancies. So Deepak,
Right.
Wipro hires in 3 batches. So they'll take 3 batches, 1 batch now. Then after 1 month, they'll take 1 more batch. And then after 1 month, they'll take the 3rd batch. So I'll just give you the rough numbers. So they hire around, say 70 to 80 CAs in the first batch. Then they'll hire half that in the second batch, and then half that in the 3rd batch.
Okay, so I just have a, I had actually discussed with a lot of people at Wipro on what kind of questions are being asked. And at least, so I can't, 3 sections are very good, which is the Ind AS part, the critical reasoning part, and the verbal reasoning part. The finance part, I could not include it, but at least these 3 sections you'll be able to practice. I'll also tell you how you can get an access to this. But this is basically, you'll have 40 questions in 40 minutes. So and these are the higher level questions which they were talking about. So this is the conceptual level questions that you'll have to answer, and you have the other parts also, right? So I'll just share the link for this too in the chat, and you can check out what all other things are there which you'll be getting. So you'll basically be getting the entire placement program. We have a placement program of 5 lectures of 2 hours each, which will be covered by this. And just like Wipro, we are having sessions with all people from almost all companies. So you'll have people coming in from Big Fours, you'll have people from ITC, you'll have people from every company that you can kind of think of, which will be there in the campus. And actually, so Arsalan is someone who has actually used the question bank in the past. So when we'll come to the technical interviews part, we'll just take some of his feedback on that. But before that, so now on the eligibility test part. So let's say now everyone has given this eligibility test, and now let's say so any idea on how many people give this test and how many people are then ultimately taken to the interview round?
So I'll just give you a rough number. In my attempt, I think there were around 900 odd students who gave the eligibility test, and around somewhere around 130, 140 people made it to the interview round.
Okay.
In my attempt, I heard there were 1500 plus packs, and 70% were eliminated in the first round in the written test.
So roughly you had, I think it would be even more than that, because if you had 1500 people, then 450 people they took interview. No,
They
right?
took round 1 was the main eliminator, I think. So after written, round 1 was also, like Kanu mentioned, that round 1 is also a very tough round for the interview. So they eliminate in round 1 also a very high chunk.
Okay. So and Tushar, any idea from your side? Yeah, it would roughly be the same, right?
Same.
So now we'll quickly take any other doubts that are there regarding this particular.
I just want to clarify on one doubt. like if you fail the written test, you cannot reapply again. Again in the cohorts program, of course. For cohorts, you cannot apply again, and cohorts is every run for May 23, like it will be run for November 23 again, for only November 23 CS. So if you don't qualify this written program, then obviously you cannot join as a cohort. Obviously, you can apply as a Wipro off campus or some other position, but cannot join as a cohort if you fail this written round. And there is no reapplication and all.
No reapplication. So that is something very, very, dangerous, or you can say very, very scary. That this is the one and only lifetime one and only opportunity.
One and only opportunity.
Right. So here also, I'm asking this because people have these kind of questions. Like, so in Big Four, what happens is that they have this restriction that, 6 months once you can apply. So people try to game the system by putting in different email IDs, phone numbers, and trying to do this. So is there some possibility of doing something like this? How do they verify that you are not the same person?
Because the form just we have filled, you have to fill all the details and all. They even ask some numbers, and also it's not a possibility to just go for cohort again, because the exam held is only once for all, May 23 CS. So exam, according to my knowledge, there is no second exam is held.
Okay.
So it's a game over thing.
Right. So because there's only one exam, yes, Ishan, it will be recorded. So you will get the recording. So since it is only one exam, there's no scope, because you have to be a May 23 attempt pass out. And in November 23, you can't be that. You can't be a November 23 person. So obviously you can't do it. But now the question is, does Wipro also come at campus, and how do they do the process there?
No, they do not come at campus. This is the only hiring program that they have.
Okay. And earlier there used to be something called GFL. So is that still there, or what is that? Is that something different?
GFL is still there. I think it's still there, but the cohorts is the main program.
Once in a year, GFL hires.
GFL is a very different sort of.
GFL. GFLs and cohorts don't have a lot of difference, I think.
GFL has a more strict criteria, like 55% should be the minimum marks, and max is the 2 attempts. You have to be passed in 2 attempts.
And there is a little higher for GFL.
Package is like 1 or 2 lakh difference was there.
So supposing if I'm not able to clear in Wipro cohorts, is there some chance that I'll be able to apply for GFL? Or
if you're going for cohorts, then you must have not qualified for GFL, because there was some open debate on all that you have to qualify, a roundtable discussion and all to go for or qualify for the rounds. And written test is also there also.
Okay, there
so
also.
Again, if there is cohort is the main program, which hiring is done by the Wipro.
So GFL is Global Finance Leadership Program, I think, and
Global
this time
Finance.
they are not hiring anyone.
Once in a year hiring.
Once in a year. So anyway, this time they are not hiring anyone, so it is not at all relevant for this audience. But I just mentioned it so that if someone misses out and there's some possibility, of them meeting this particular criteria, there could be a possibility. I'm not sure whether you'll be allowed to appear for the written exam again. But anyway, right? So just mention that. And also, regarding off-campus, how many people are taken?
Just to give all the students here a little bit of motivation about the cohorts program. So a very important part of the cohorts program is that you have sessions every 3 months. So Wipro conducts sessions for you. So you'll have sessions on different topics. You'll have sessions on business finance. You'll have sessions on Forex communication, right? So you will have a person, external presenter coming in. He'll take your session. There will be a case based on that session. The cohorts will be divided into teams. You will have to present a case study basis that session that was taken. You will have to present it and you will be marked on that. Earlier, what used to happen was that every group which won a particular round of case studies used to have a dinner with the CFO. So they used to have that privilege of having CFO with the dinner with the CFO. And there you have 1 hour with the CFO, where you can ask everything you want to, and the CFO of your company gets to know you personally. That was suspended because of COVID, obviously. But now that Wipro has started its offices once again, so every one of you will have to go to office now. So this is one thing, which excited me a lot when I joined, that the opportunity to having that time of the CFO of the company to you. It's a very, it's a very nice thing to have.
And people say there are a lot of internal learning opportunities also. Supposing you want to do a course, they'll sponsor it. Is that true?
So they have a learning portal. So they have a learning portal. So you can do n number of courses from there. And more than that, what Wipro emphasizes is that they say that you go out and learn as much as you can. So a very this rotation policy. So the senior employees as well. So you for your reference, head of functions get rotated to a function that they never worked before. So the current head of indirect taxation, he never worked under indirect taxation. He was in controllership for 7 years. After that, he was made the head of indirect taxation. So what they encourage you to go and do is that go sit with other people, sit with controllership, sit with the internal auditors, go have a conversation with them, learn from them what they are doing. That is a very important part, and they will emphasize that continuously. So that is one aspect. You have to take the ownership by yourself to go and learn, but people are very open to let you learn things.
And this is something which is often a part of this, Big Four versus industry debate, that in Big Four, you are able to get access to multiple industries and you're able to learn about various different industries. So how does that fare in Wipro? So in Wipro also, there are many different business lines. Do you get access to, do you get to work in different kinds of business lines? And supposing if you are, you're not happy with your role after 1 year, can you ask for a switch? That I want to go to some other role.
You will be compulsorily switched after 1 year, right? So again, a major chunk of people will go to the BFM role. BFM is a business finance manager, right? So I'll just give you an example. So I'll divide it into two parts. You either get a BFM role or a non-BFM role, right? So if you get a non-BFM role for the first 1 year, then there's a 90% chance that you're going to be rotated into a BFM role. So the idea is that within the first 2 years, you are going to have one stint as a BFM. Now, BFM here stands for a business finance manager. I'll give you a very simple example. Wipro is doing business with 100 clients, right? So for every client, there is a particular cost associated with it. There is revenue, there is margins. There are a lot of variance analysis has to be done for every particular client, right? Every client has their own separate P&L for the company. So you as an employee will have a portfolio of say 5 companies under you, right? So Yugantar, if you are a BFM, right? So you are a BFM for the Australia, New Zealand region. Okay. Now under Australia region, New Zealand region, you will have 5 accounts under you. Now from the starting point, the sales team won a deal and they came to you. Now from structuring the revenue, deciding what is your cost, deciding margins, deciding the indirect costs, everything has to be done from you. So you are the what we like to think of it is that you are the CFO for that particular account. You are responsible for performance, you are responsible for profits, you are responsible for margins. There is a lot of talk around margin pressure on the IT industry, right? So it is your responsibility that you maintain the margin for your account. If you see that there is a margin shortfall, margin is not meeting up, you'll have to discuss it with your manager. What can we do to increase the margin? Maybe we'll have to reduce cost. We are having high operating costs, we reduce that. So it sort of gives you a perspective of how things work. And once you do that, you are exposed to that particular company as well. For example, continuing on that example, if you are the BFM for Microsoft, now you'll also understand what are the different projects that Microsoft is doing, which Wipro is implementing. And a lot of times this creates an opportunity as well, because I've seen people who have worked as BFMs for 2 years for a particular account and have switched to that company, and they have switched at a very handsome salary hike, because that particular company knows that this guy knows the ins and outs of my business.
Okay, so that was really insightful on what you can expect after you join. But I think most people are not worried about what will happen after they join. They are more worried about how do we get this opportunity and how do we ultimately join. And since we've covered most of the questions regarding what the eligibility test is, how it's structured, and I'll be giving you the way you can access the practice test also. So, that part is covered. Now let's come to the next part. Once the eligibility test is cleared, the next is, as you said, the round 1, right? So Tushar, can you explain, first we'll come to you on what happens in the round 1. Who is the type of interviewer? What kind of questions are asked?
Okay, so my interviewer was the FP&A manager, the level 2 manager. So basically, actually, what happens is it depends upon the person to person and manager to manager, like what question he wants to ask. Like some of the people were asked more of technical things. In technical things, so also SFM was the main thing, like questions about the put option, call option, purchase parity theory, and all. And FR related 115, 116 is very important. Like this, in one of the two rounds of the technical interview, you will receive questions from 115, 116. And in the audit part, I think essay related to the given conclusion, like 700 series essays. You should prepare in deep for that. And in my interview, more of a CV was asked. What I have written in the CV, they asked me deep about that. Like if I have written traveling as my hobby, so they were more into we want to where I traveled. Mainly the confidence is checked, like are you able to speak, like you have written is it is as it is, or you have actually done that. If you have written cricket as your hobby, he can, like personally I have been asked questions about cricket also. He, like, who is your favorite player and what record recently he made. Am I more towards the male cricket only or female also? Because cricket as a sport I like, so I like only male thing or the female also. So that I have been asked in the first round of interview. So it depends upon person to person ki what he wants to ask. Mainly what you have written in the CV, you should be like deep knowledge about that. And that basic question, tell me about yourself, and all that is asked everywhere.
And so before we, move on to Arslan, what we'll do is we'll have a quick group photo, and then we'll come back to you. So if everyone can just turn on your cameras, and we'll see all of you, and we'll have a group photo. Okay, so if anyone wants, you can switch to the gallery view, and you can see your fellow participants, your fellow, the people who will be writing the exam tomorrow along with you, right? Okay, so you can just smile, and I'll just click this photo. You can also click the photos, and you can share it wherever you want. You can tag them. You can send them a connect request on LinkedIn, and like if you want to connect with them, just a minute. So we have almost 100 participants. Our peak participants in a way were more. We had around 125, I think. Right. Just a minute. Okay, so I've taken the photos. I'll be sharing them with you. And now we'll move on to Arslan on this same round one. What was your experience, and how can you prepare for this?
Experience of round one was a little, as Anu mentioned, was a little round is really on a bit a tough side. But again, the main thing is how do you prepare introduce yourself? That was the main turning point. If you just be confident while answering that question, introduce yourself, prepare well. And then the manager asked me, what is your favorite line and which line if you want? I just answered that taxation. So he just start digging. The first question which he asked me was like, okay, if I'm having some derivative loss, so where that will be showing in the ITR. So I was like totally shocked, like why he was asking me like ITR filing thing sort of type. So the question was where I will be showing it. So I was like, okay, it's in. So I was say, okay, you will be showing under losses and set of loss and under IFOS and all other income. But he was like, it will be shown under PGBP. So I was like, no, it's shown under the IFOS only, under IFOS losses, income from other sources. So he was like, okay. Then he keep asking me some IDT questions. Then the main part which he was amendments. He also ask me the amendments related to the DT, recent amendments in DT. Then he jumped onto the GST. He asked me what are the recent amendments in IDT and what are the things we should be doing, and as a company, what things we should be mentioning and what things. The main sort which I want to deliver by this is be sure of what you are just saying. if you are choosing the taxation as your profile, if you are saying that taxation is where I want to be taxation, so you must be knowing the things, you must be knowing the background of it. He can ask you anything about taxation, even the ITR, even he can ask you GSTR one thing. With the articleship thing, he can also ask you. He will not be asking anything level above us, obviously, but if you are saying anything, so just be confident about it. And if you're saying anything wrong also, according to my opinion, if you're saying anything wrong, just be confident. If you're wrong, then also be confident, because the main thing which is tested here is your confidence at last, according to my experience. And you must answer the things which they are asking. If you don't need to sit dumb and still, you just need to answer them. And obviously background knowledge of the thing which you are saying, and background knowledge of your CV and all, what is written in your CV and all, and what you are just saying. So just be confident about it. So that was my experience and all.
So 2 lessons from here. One is that whenever the interviewer asks what is your favorite subject, don't tell them your favorite subject. Tell them the subject which you will be able to answer. Questions on,
Yeah.
right? And second lesson is that even if you answer some question incorrectly, it is not the end of the world. You will actually it is like, it's not like an exam. It's in a way like an exam. So in an exam, you don't need to answer each and every question correctly. You need to answer most of the questions correctly. And I think the same logic applies here. That even if so it's not like it depends on the level of the interview also. But supposing if you are being interviewed and you have given more correct answers than the persons who are interviewing
Actually,
after you or before you.
Yeah,
then,
actually it's not an exam that you need to answer all the questions correctly. Totally not. If it's not an totally an exam, you do not
even
need
in
to
the
answer
exam
all
you don't need to know.
correctly.
Because,
Yeah.
that also is like you have a
like if you're confident, and if you are the interviewer can see that you are confident and you are speaking it out, and you are just and the main question which everyone must prepare, why Wipro? It's a must question. It was asked in every 3 rounds at the last step, why Wipro? So this was the main question, because they need to know na ki literally you want to be in Wipro. The feeling must be inside. Why do you want to be in Wipro? You are not just here for the interview, you are just here to be in the Wipro. So that was the main thing and main last conclusion of the every interview. So why Wipro should be prepared well in case of interview.
and any idea on how to answer this?
Just like act some like fictional things and all, like Wipro is the biggest company and all, and by it's in by wide sector, and the cohorts we have to switch roles, and finance management roles we will be switching roles and all. We have heard from our seniors that Wipro there's a good like balance and all things like this. So we can answer it about like Wipro, because Wipro is the company that everybody knows.
Right. So do we need to study the financials in detail? So I'll just come back to Anu or Tushar. Do we need to study the financials of Wipro in detail to answer questions in the interview?
So
Yes,
yeah, Tushar, you can go ahead.
Okay, so not the financial portion, but the like the latest revenue and that the operating margin. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so the abhi quarter end results are released. So in the quarter end results, what were the margin, what was the revenue, what is the gross profit, what is the net profit? These 4 figures are compulsory. And before 3 months, the year end results were announced. So related to that also. And CEO, CFO of Wipro, a little bit history about Ajim Premji, how Wipro was started, what are the recent acquisitions, and what has acquired, any deal, any news related to Wipro. You should be knowing all this, because questions related to Wipro are asked in a lot. In all the 3 rounds, it will be asked. So these all questions you need to prepare. You need not to prepare the financial in detail, just 4 to 5 figures: gross profit, net profit, the revenue, the operating margin in figure also, in percentage also.
So I'll just share the resources which we have prepared for all of you, right? I'll just share the link here also, and I'll just show you the kind of things that are there, and then we'll move on to some of the closing remarks. Or how should we do it? Okay. So I'll just quickly show this link which I've shared, right? Okay, so this is the admin panel. That's why you're getting this bar. If you log in, you won't get this particular bar. So I'll tell you what all we have. We have the entire placement preparation program. So I'll just tell you what all is there in these things, right? So we have a program on corporate finance and valuation, which is a very detailed program, and this will be very useful if you are attending any kind of industry interviews, or if you are trying to get into roles like these investment banking, equity research and all that. And also if you are trying to get into roles like ITC, Nestle, and even Wipro, right? So because you'll have questions on corporate finance and the questions on this NPV and IRR, the detailed concepts you'll be getting to know, right? So this is one of them. And regarding the aptitude test, right? So you actually have there's one this is a very reasonably priced. It's priced at just if you use the coupon code, you can I'll share the coupon code also. I have a common coupon code for all these, and you will actually get 35% off on all the programs. And this is basically a booster program. You will get all the lectures here, but you will not get the access to the other resources, right? So I'll tell you what the other resources are. With this plan, you will actually get all the lectures, right? And this is the question bank, right? So I've prepared a very detailed question bank after taking the questions from all the CAs who have, so from more than 1,000 CAs who have given interviews in the past at many different companies, and that has been compiled. And you have the detailed answers, the correct answers for all those questions, which will be really useful for your interview preparation. And then, this is the program where everything is combined. So it's a comprehensive program where you will be getting all the things that I talked about. Plus, you will be getting a personal CV review, a personal mock interview, and a group discussion, right? So if you need any more details on this, you can reach out to me. I'll share the group links also, and the and my number also. And if you have any final doubts to ask them, please go ahead. Okay, aptitude test also is a part of this, right? So good you reminded me. Aptitude test also you will be getting in both the CA booster as well as the CA placement preparation program, right? So you'll be getting it both in that in the 500 or the 500 plan as well as the 2,500 plan. So whichever one you buy, you'll be able to get the aptitude test, and it's there in the portal itself. So if you buy it now also, you'll be able to get access to that. Okay. So I think we don't have any further questions. Thanks a lot for joining at such a short notice and for sharing such valuable knowledge and insights. And so everyone, you'll have to give them a treat in some way if you are able to clear this round. And you'll have to, once you go in these companies, you'll be able to get even more mentorship from those of them who are working there. And definitely we'll be supporting you for any other companies also, because even though Wipro is a really good company, it is possible that and it is just a matter of statistics, right? So statistically, most of you will not be able to clear the exam. So that is the that is the way it happens. But since you as a cohort or you as a group are now knowing the way it is being done, it will be much easier and you all will have a much greater chance. But supposing if you are not able to get in, then also there are many other companies which you'll be able to get in. So there's not too much to stress about. So any final concluding remarks, Anu, from your side?
So first of all, yeah, all those people that are giving the test tomorrow, thande dimag se test dena, go in there with a cool mind, right? If you clear, well and good. If you don't clear, it's a learning experience for your next interview, for your next job. So take it that way. Even if you don't clear, don't take it as a failure, right? And if you go and approach it with a cool mind, you'll absolutely be able to clear this.
Okay, Tushar from your side.
Oh, okay. So for the assessment that Anu has said, that is okay. I will if you people will make to the interview round, I hope you all will make. So if you will make to the interview round, then I am having the list of questions actually that were asked during my batch. So I will share with Yugantar and he can share it with you guys. During the interview, one thing I would, if this is the I want to know, this is the last session we are having, or we will be having one more session for when the assessment results will be coming.
We can actually have one more session if people need more detailed guidance on how Wipro interviews are to be handled. So I'll just try to take feedback from them on how many people are attending, and then we can have another one also.
Yeah, then I will tell about more about the interview thing. Okay, and
okay. Arsalan from your side.
Nothing, just to be confident and be cool-minded, and all the best for tomorrow.
Okay. Aptitude testing. So I'll share the links on your emails also. Okay. So all of you have joined through email only, right? Right. So then all the details, whatever has been shared here, along with the recording of this session also, I'll be sharing on your email. So you don't need to worry about that. But only thing you need to worry about is that the assessment test is tomorrow only. So don't spend too much time in preparing, right? I think all three of you would agree that instead of spending the entire night preparing, it would be better to get a good night.
Better to
sleep.
get a good sleep, yeah.
Right. Okay. Thanks a lot, all of you. And it was such a pleasure having all of you here. Really great.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank
Best
you
of
for
luck.
having us. All the best.
And do any of you have top meet links? Like, are you available for personalized guidance or something of that sort? Then we can share those links also with the candidates.
I don't have a top meet link, but if any one of them has a query, they can message me on LinkedIn.
Okay, sure.
Same.
So I'll just
to
share all their LinkedIn links also with you, you all, so you can connect with them. And subject to their availability, of course, you'll be able to ask them.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
thank you. Best of luck.
Best of luck, all of you.